Ambassador Nikki Haley gave a fiery response to the administration's soft response to the Ukrainian invasion so far. Let's watch this, and then I'll have you comment on it.
Sandra, this is not the America I know. The America I know will do anything and everything to help a freedom-loving country. Here you have a country, we are watching body bags, we're watching mass graves, we're watching people fight for their very life, for the freedom that we all hold so dear. And, I want to say to the Ukrainian people, we see you, we hear you, we hurt for you, and I'm sorry Biden isn't doing more for you, because that's not the America I know and love. And to the American people, we're better than this. We're better than this. The first thing we should be doing is telling Putin he will have hell to pay if he goes and uses chemical weapons on anybody in Ukraine. We should be standing up and sending those planes, because it has already been war. Putin thought this was war when we put sanctions on them. Putin thinks this is war when we started pulling companies out of Russia. Putin thought this was war when we started defending Ukraine. If we can send javelins and stingers, we can send planes. The president of Ukraine is begging us to help them. What are we doing? We haven't stopped any, we haven't sanctioned any of their energy companies yet. We haven't pulled them out of international banking system. We're not doing anything to get them the planes they've begged us to do. We should be rallying all of our allies, saying this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to say to Putin if he touches the nukes, if he uses chemical weapons, and we're going to give the Ukrainians everything they need to fight back, and we're not doing it, and it's disgusting.
It is disgusting. She's right.
Lieutenant, I want you comment on that, and I know I'm probably not liked by a lot of people in government, but I just believe we ought to rescue dying people. I see them as God's people. I see that we are to love our enemies. We're to pray for people. We're to restore them. We're to rescue the perishing and care for the dying. And yet, Nikki Haley, she's getting pretty riled up about it. And how can we watch people die, and yet we're being told these are the rules of war? So we have to obey Putin's rules of war, so we can't help any more than we have.
Pastor Nikki Haley does make an impassioned and a logical series of statements and express concerns that represent a lot of our concerns about the lack of what this administration has done, as well as the other NATO members. The administration is incredibly timid against a brutal dictator. We could have taken a lot of action, as I said moments ago, much earlier, and equipped them when they staged 70,000 forces back in the spring of 2021, but we failed to do that. There's no reason we shouldn't have secretly endorsed what the Poles wanted to do, and that is provide MiG-29s to Ukrainian Air Force pilots who are already trained on those and could use them effectively, especially against targets in the open in northern Ukraine. So there are a host of issues. One of the things that I heard her say, and she's right, is that Putin will, if given the opportunity and his forces get bogged down, as I believe that they will inevitably in Kiev, they will employ chemical munitions. Keep in mind, after the Cold War, the Nunn-Lugar program went into and worked with the Soviets, former Soviets, and we disbanded a lot of their nuclear, chemical, and biological programs. But some of those programs, we have every reason to believe, continue to exist. They're chemicals. We've seen them use chemicals in a concert with their good friend Bashar Assad in a number of situations, sarin, nerve agent, certainly chlorine bombs, and so forth. And between 2013 and 2020, and of course, at the time, the Russians were there sharing the same airfield. And of course, as you may recall, President Trump launched a host of missiles at that airfield. And then he told Putin, You need to stop doing that sort of stuff. But of course, Mr. Biden wouldn't do that today. So we find that the situation that Ms. Haley acknowledges, because she's had the experience working as the ambassador of the United Nations, she understands the international tempo with regard to these types of activities. If we tolerate bullies, they will continue to bully, whether it's in Syria or it's in Iraq, in Ukraine or Chechnya, or virtually anywhere in the world. And unfortunately, the Biden administration doesn't seem to have the backbone that's necessary to push back against these tyrants. And Mr. Putin, a former KGB agent, someone who, when I was, looking on the west side of the Iron Curtain many years ago, when I was stationed in Germany, they would kill people that I saw, trying to escape from the East, seeking freedom. If they weren't caught up by the booby traps and by the mines in the no man land, then the guards in the towers, which were opposite where we were, would shoot them and kill them. So we need to recognize that we're dealing with brutes, people that have no regard for human life, and they would, given the opportunity, do whatever's necessary to seek their ultimate goal. And in Putin's case, of course, he wants to dominate not only Ukraine, but he wants to recover the entire Russo-Ukrainian empire, which would include the likes of Bulgaria, Romania, Poland, certainly all the way up to the Baltic. So it's a sobering time that we're facing.